All right, this is Johnny D from the Climb Show Music Business Podcast on American Songwriter Magazine's podcast network. You can find us at americansongwriter.com/podcast. We are live from the Nashville Nights International Songwriters Festival in Odense, Denmark. And I'm sitting here with the man with the plan and the story that of the guy who can. Eric Erdman. Nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you too.
Glad to be hanging out with you. So, first of all, let's just start on your story and getting here.
Okay, well,
because this is epic.
To the end of me being a professional songwriter and musician, I've always prided myself on being on time and having my gear work. There's definitely going to be people that don't like the style of music I do or how I do it. That's inevitable. But I say at least I can control showing up on time and having my stuff. Well, with that as what I've done for 28 years of being a professional musician, I went to get ready for this gig. Passport was nowhere to be found. That's a whole other story, but let's just start there. No passport. So it was the weekend before we left. So in a panic mode, I was like, well, normally I would go to New Orleans, but if I go to Atlanta, that's closer to where the actual flight is, so I could actually make it if they turn it around fast enough, or catch the second leg. So I drive 6 hours to Atlanta, have all my documents ready. But unlike all the previous times I've dealt with a passport, now they do only appointments. So I get to the door, it's like, no, you're not coming in. You have to have an appointment. So then I call them, and it says an hour and 45-minute wait time. Now I only have about 5 or 6 hours before the plane's taking off. So I start panic, and my manager gets on. I call my manager, she gets on the phone. So we have 2 phone calls going, and once we finally get somebody on the line, they tell us there are no appointments in Atlanta at all. So that was a pointless trip. So I turn back around and start driving. They said there's an appointment the next day in New Orleans for a passport, but they won't give you the appointment until you have updated itinerary proving that you have flights. So now you have to hang up with the passport agency, call Delta, spend 30 or 40 minutes changing the flight. You change the flight, get back on the wait line of the passport. When you get done, they say that appointment's been taken. We did that 3 times. Move the flight, passport gone. Move the flight, passport gone. To the point where the last time I was on the phone with Blue Foley, putting this on. I'm like, I'm doing everything I physically can to get here. Just like I said, I'm good. If I told you I'm gonna be there, I'm gonna be there. If it kills me.
He's not kidding y'all.
And then we go through New Orleans until they said now New Orleans doesn't have any appointments for the week. So at that point I was about to give up. I was like, I don't know what else to do. And my manager called back again to the passport agency and said, don't worry about location. Is there any appointments in America? And we found there was a handful in El Paso, Texas. So went back to Delta, got the flight. Actually, I was going to drive. I was driving south from Atlanta. She said, how fast can you drive to El Paso? I was like, it's like 19 more hours from the 13 loop I just made. And so we'll figure that out. Let me just book it first. So she books a flight so that she can book the passport thing in El Paso. I drive to Mobile, sleep like 4 hours, get up at 2 a.m., drive to Gulfport, Mississippi, get a secondary flight that goes Mississippi, Dallas, El Paso, go to the passport office at the appointment, thinking, man, this is really tight. My appointment's at 12:30, and they're probably going to close at 5 or so.
Right.
Go up to I wait through the queue, which takes like 30 minutes. Then I go through the other queue, pay her, and I look at the clock. I'm like, man, it's like 1:15 or so. That's a lot. That's pretty late. You know, it's only 3 or 4 hours. She goes, we close at 3 today. I was like,
oh, dang.
After all that. So I'm sitting in the lobby just thinking there's very little chance this is going to happen. I'm sitting there talking with the other people, and they're like, so when was your appointment today? They were like 10 a.m. So they were 2 hours. They had 2 more hours of time, and they still didn't have theirs. And now we're just looking at like 45 minutes left. So when all this was going down, we spread the news to like as many people as we could, and my manager called in all the favors from everybody. And through a few, it took a few iterations, but we got down to a couple congressmen actually, which blew my mind. I was like, what did you say? Like, there's a congressman going to call my phone? And sure enough, a congressman in the office called my phone and said, we understand that you need help getting your passport. I was like, yes. And they were like, well, we can do that, or we can try to help you, but you have to fill out this form for us to speak on your behalf. I was like, send it.
Yeah.
So they sent it. No kidding. It was 28 minutes until 3. And they sent me the form to fill. And I'm looking on my phone, and it's a form this long. So I'm just like, my little thumbs are just ripping. I get it filled out. I send it in. And I'll go up there, and it's at 2:59. Dude's like, and he said, "We're closed, but sit in here." And I sat in there, and I sat in there extra 20 minutes after time, and they handed me a passport. So like that shouldn't probably have happened.
Wow.
And then that was okay. So I was like, we won. We beat the impossible. The next morning, flight El Paso to Nashville. I have all my stuff ready, my new passport ready to go. I go to the counter, put all my information down. And she said, "You can't get on this flight." And I was like, "What?" And she said, "Everything's good, but your COVID test is too old." I was like, "No, it's not. Look at my email. It says 72 hours before boarding first flight." And she says, "That's an incorrect email because what you should have is 72 hours before you arrive." So now I'm at the airport in Nashville, not allowed to get on the flight after all that.
Oh my God.
And I was like, "I don't care what happens, I'm getting on this flight." She's like, "Run right now." So I run, I get an Uber, like 15 minutes away to this clinic that does it real fast. I get there, there's of course a waiting line of 6 people, and I'm like, I'm sitting in there watching the clock just go. And I asked them before I took the test, I said, "Can you email me the results in 30 minutes or whenever you get them?" They said yes. So I call my other part of my management team, who lives by the airport, and he shows up sitting in front of the place with his truck running.
Oh my gosh.
No, it's literally like a movie scene. I can't believe it. I'm like looking at it. They call me back. I go in there. They swab my nose, and I just say thanks. Go straight from the office, run out the lobby, get in the truck, go all the way back to B&A, go through the line, and the lady at the desk printed my boarding pass, but she couldn't give them to me until we got it. So I was sitting there refreshing my phone over and over.
Oh, wow.
And then finally, those tests came in negative. She handed it to me. I ran through to TSA, went through it, and when I got to the gate, all the zones had loaded. It was just the door. That probably 2 minutes. You know what I mean? Like
before they shut the door. Yeah.
I got on the plane, got here, and the craziest thing, took a 10-minute detour, wrong train stop, went to the wrong thing, waited on some the sponsors from Vinyl Lab would come into here and jumped in with them, and we just kind of were like trying to get here, but not in a super rush. Like we were just trying to get here, got on the right train. Anyway, pulled into Odense, walked into the gig, and Stefan had just stepped on stage and said, "Hey everybody, welcome to," on the downbeat. So 5 days, all that.
And so how many total hours was this traveling?
I mean, seriously.
Of getting the passport,
I left Sunday to get my passport from Atlanta. So if you want to count that, I drove Sunday night, back Monday, flew Tuesday out there, Wednesday. So it was a week. I mean, what day is it? Saturday?
Today's Saturday, I think. Yeah.
So I only got here night before last. So almost 5 days straight.
Oh yeah. So you came into my awareness because Blue Foley's on stage. He's like, "We got one guy just trying. He's been up for 36 hours. He's trying to get here on time." You're like, "I'm here." He's like, "No way!"
Yeah.
That was epic.
I had been in the building 1 minute. Like I said, right before that, when Stefan was up there, that was it.
That's amazing. So, how many shows have you done so far at the festival?
Well, I did just a song at the opening night, and then
epic, by the way. I saw that, killer.
Thank you. And then yesterday we did 2 things where it was more like a talk. We talked to the university students about co-writing, and then we did a co-writing.
Oh, cool! You guys did a thing at the university.
Today's my actual full show. It's today, pretty soon actually.
Where?
Gassa.
Gassa. Okay, I love Gassa.
That's a cool venue.
That's a very cool venue, and they know how to make old fashions.
Oh,
I'm a big fan. Yeah.
I'm gonna check that.
So
you just decided my drink menu.
I know. Here we go. So how did you get to the festival? I mean, we know how you got to the festival, but how did you get on the festival? Let's say.
Well, I write a ton in Nashville. I'm from Mobile, Alabama, so that's where my home is and my family is. But I spend 10 times more of the year in Nashville because I'm writing there, working there. So I've written many times with Blue and most of these artists on here. So I'm just part of gang, and I got lucky, I guess, because I'm
Well, I think lucky is we've already established that. Eric, are you familiar with the law of rock and roll?
Go ahead, tell me.
So you have Murphy's Law,
Yeah.
which states whatever can go wrong will go wrong.
Yeah.
And then here's another proof positive story that the law of rock and roll, which states that Murphy completely underestimated the problem.
I like it.
So you got your full show today. You got any more shows up tonight?
Yeah, show again tomorrow with Trick Savage and Emma Zink, who are both my buddies from the States.
I love it, man. So typically this is what I'm going to ask somebody who tours a lot, like, so the craziest story, but I think you got it. You nailed it.
Yeah, I've had some crazy stories, but traveling wise, I never had congressmen involved.
That's cool. So, because I know you got bus call and you got to jump on the bus.
Yeah.
It's American Songwriter magazine. One piece, your best piece of advice to all songwriters, what would that be? Because your songs got you here. Let's be real.
True. From the craft, one, like I said, I'm gonna give him two. I cheat.
Okay.
One is show up. Like I said, if you're supposed to be there, be there. Like
And the man practices what he preaches.
But if you're asking about craft, I have found the majority of the time when a good song could have been great and isn't, or a decent song is bad, it almost always is focus. It doesn't matter if it's a dance song, really lighthearted, or a real thinking thing, or anything. In a typical pop song or country song, you have 3.5 minutes to tell your story. There's gonna be music at the beginning and end and in between sections, so cut that out. That's like a minute of non-lyrical stuff. Chorus is probably repeated, so any extra iterations of the chorus is not new information. So now you're trying to tell a story to 1 million people that don't know you.
Yeah.
And you have 1 minute and 20 seconds to tell it. So
I never did the math. I never thought about that.
yeah, it's way shorter than you even think that it would be. So therefore, you don't have time to tell every story you want. You need to tell one sliver of a thing, not just like my heart hurts. Like it's too big.
Yeah.
You got to go like, like Sting did it perfectly. I think like he has a jealousy song that's like perfect love gone wrong. And the whole thing's just a jealous song. Like, I'm jealous. I love you better than he does, right? That's the vague big one. But instead of doing that, he was smart enough to go, I'm going to write it from the perspective of her dog, and he's jealous of her getting a boyfriend. Now, that's so, it makes it so specific that, like, you could write that song in 5 minutes once you've determined the focus. Like, the focus is super important.
Oh, I love it. The angle on it. So is that TJ telling us we got to go?
Yeah.
All right. Hey, man, it's been a pleasure having you on.
Yeah.
Good luck at the show. And Eric Erdman, guys, once again, American Songwriter Magazine Podcast Network, americansongwriter.com/podcast, The Climb Show. We've got more coming up at the Nashville Nights International Songwriting Festival here in Odense, Denmark.